2016 Explorer, four-wheel drive, 3.5 liter V6, and it's got the classic leaky water pump. Pump's leaking out of the weep hole externally is what I've been told, but I've seen them leak internally as well, even with the weep hole leaking. So I'm suspecting we got a little bit of a milkshake situation in the oil, but we're going to be cleaning that out as well. I guess I'll just put you up and we'll just do the damn thing again from start to finish, and hopefully this time I'll be able to get every nut and bolt for you guys so there'll be no complainers. Alright, well, first things first, you're going to want to start by taking off this engine cover. There are a couple push pins in the back of it, so be mindful of those. Don't go tearing them apart. Then you're going to need to disconnect the negative terminal on the battery and go ahead and start getting that intake tube off. There are two hoses that go to the intake tube that need to be disconnected as well. And I go ahead and take that evap hose and pull it out of there. So it's always a good idea to pop those engine covers off every once in a while. Oh fuck, you can probably just hear this guy screaming in the background, but anyway, I'll talk over him. Make sure you take those engine covers off every once in a while and check for any mouse houses you got underneath them, because there's always going to be one, and eventually those guys will pile up in here and then they'll start eating your wires, and then your shit will run like a bag of dicks, and then you'll be pissed, and all the things. But anyway, let's carry on. Alright, wicked good PSA. Thanks, John. Well, anyway, we're going to want to go ahead and carry on by start attacking all the electrical connectors and hoses that are attached to the upper intake manifold. There are an evap hose right in the front there that I disconnect, along with two plugs, one on the throttle body, one on the evap canister, purge valve, whatever. And then there is another positive crankcase hose, I believe, behind the intake manifold that you'll have to get, and a map sensor, I believe, on that rear left corner. I just want to disconnect that. Obviously, again, disconnect any electrical connector you can see, disconnect any hose you can see. This is all pertaining to that upper intake manifold, because we're going to go ahead and pop that out of here first. But with these newer Fords, it is kind of a pain in the ass, just the sheer amount of push pins they have on the wiring. The wiring is literally fastened down every inch, so you're going to have to spend some time with that. As for the intake manifold, it is just, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 8mm bolts. And then it comes out of there relatively easy with everything around it still kind of hooked up. Beyond that, I'm watching this with you guys, so your voiceover is like you're sitting with me on the couch. But after the intake manifold's out of there, it looks like we're just going to keep going with those electrical connectors, starting with the coil pack connectors and the fuel injector connectors, and then as well as, probably another 20 push pins holding this dang wiring harness down to various points on the engine. It's definitely tedious stuff. But not hard. As long as you just go slow, disconnect everything, make sure you're getting all the locking tabs up and out before you go trying to pry anything off. That way you'll avoid breaking any pigtails or anything else that you don't want to have to bother replacing. I'm gonna vacuum. Oh, hello, it's me again. Hello, it's me again. We're gonna go ahead and vacuum this up because this is fucking nasty. I think it's just coagulated mouse piss. So I want to vacuum that up, especially before anything goes down the tubes there. Stuff some paper towels down there so we don't make any more of a mess. But then obviously we'll probably skip save some fucking camera battery, because we all know my camera batteries suck. But just gonna get the rest of this wiring up and free, away from the valve covers, because we're going to have to pull the valve covers off. Obviously pull the wiring free, get your coils out. You can leave the spark plugs in, that should be fine. And then it looks pretty straightforward. Just get all your grommets and shit off the valve covers themselves without cracking the plastic valve covers, which I haven't done. I'm not saying that as I've done it. I've seen it happen, because these fucking little push pins just hang in like a son of a bitch. If it's sketching you out using a pry tool, just go around and cut them all, because they're useless anyway. Alright, well, we're back at it, taking out the coil packs. We're going to free up everything on and around these valve covers, and then we're going to go ahead and start attacking those. All the bolts are going to be 10 millimeter, and the front side is easy. You can get your pneumatic weapon of choice in there and quickly get that one done. The rear is a little bit more time consuming. That one I had to use a wrench for every single bolt. And I didn't have to use a wrench for every single bolt, but I chose to, and it took a bit of time, so I'm gonna skip most of that for you now. I'm probably gonna show myself loosening about 4 bolts here, and then we're just gonna skip to popping that cover off. Really nothing to be said about this. It's just a bunch of 10 millimeter bolts. Get them all loose and get them off of there, and pull your cover right out. After the covers are off, you're going to need to ditch this right front wheel, because you're going to have to get in here, and this is definitely a process, so get ready, but you're going to have to get this whole fender liner out of here, wheel well liner, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to take the whole thing out. You could take this front half out that I'm doing now and kind of bend it back behind the brake rotor, behind the wheel, to gain access to what I need to gain access to, and that would be the harmonic balancer, crankshaft pulley, whatever you want to call it. As well as just getting the serpentine belt out of there. This makes it a lot easier. But honestly, if you take the extra 15 minutes, you just get all the push pins, all the bolts on this fender liner. You can get the whole thing out, and then you have lots of space for activities. So it's beneficial just to take the time and take it all the way out of there. I might have a little bit too much filmed here. Like I said, I'm sitting here watching it with you guys, so I don't know if I should skip some of this, cut some of this out. I mean, really, I kept most of this in here because I wanted to show exactly where and how many push pins and whatnot there are. But looking at it now, I don't think that you're really able to tell where I'm going, especially with the footage being sped up. So that was pretty stupid, but just get your flashlight in there, look around, find them all. There's definitely over a baker's dozen, and you get them all out of there. And I almost took the camera out there, so I decided to move the camera, I think, in a second here. But yep, just take that whole liner out of there. Don't put it over your head like I'm about to, because I just got soaked in shit. But yeah, once you get the fender liner out of there, I went ahead and drained the coolant. I just drained enough to be able to pull the reservoir out. I didn't drain it entirely, but then I also, as you can see, I got the serpentine belt off. This is that tensioner from the top side, 3 8mm bolts there. We're going to go ahead and pop that tensioner off. Obviously, that's what it looks like without the tensioner in there. And there's also this little bracket holding one of your AC lines onto the chassis there. That's a 10 mil as well. You're going to want to pop that off, get yourself some extra space. I did take the reservoir out too, so there's a push connect coolant fitting there that you want to go ahead and pop off. And then you could pull the whole coolant reservoir out, get yourself plenty of room for activities. Then we're going to go ahead and take the harmonic balancer off. I used my small 3-jaw puller for whatever reason and proceeded to just break the living shit out of it. So used my bigger pulley, my bigger puller, and got that off of there. We're going to go ahead and support the engine from underneath. I like to use just a jack and a block of wood. And you're going to want to go ahead and take that upper engine mount, engine support out, and you'll see why in a second. It gives you all the room in the world to do what we got to do, and obviously you're going to need to take it out of there anyway. There are 4 studs on the cover, on the timing cover, after you get that mount out of there. I did end up taking the 2 most inner studs out, just to make it easier to get my pneumatic gun in, to get those 13 mil bolts that you can see there on the timing cover. So yeah, those 2 furthest back studs I took out. But everything else is just going to be a bunch of 13s all the way around the cover, and as well as 3 15 millimeters inside of the cover and 1 8mm inside of the cover. Now, at this point in time, I realized that my camera wasn't getting the good angle, so I just kind of skipped the rest of this here because I had the car jacked up and my tripod only goes so high. But anyway, there's the timing cover off. I'm gonna walk over to it in just a second here and I kind of give you the layout of all the bolts. But all the perimeter bolts that you can see there are all 13 millimeters. And I mean, again, there's probably a good dozen of them, baker's dozen of them. And then you're gonna have your 15 millimeters inside of here. That's the 8 mil. That's another 15. That's another 15. And there you go. A cover popped right out of there. Obviously, you're gonna need to support your engine a little bit more, but once you got the cover off, go ahead and verify your timing marks at top dead center. This one does have, you can't really see it there, but it is a slightly colored keyway there, or whatever you want to call it, chain link. And then you got your 2 colored chain links down here, and obviously the dot on the crank pulley pointing right in between those. So once your timing is all verified, marked up, you go ahead and just lock those cams up with a couple of vice grips. If you're not doing the chains, you don't need to have the actual holding tool. Vice grips will work just fine. Here's the water pump out. We had blown through the gasket, and that's why it was leaking out of the weep hole, as they usually do. But as you can see here, you can sneak it around that guide, so you don't need to worry about pulling that cam gear off and getting that guide completely out. As well as the chain, you can leave mostly in place. I just kind of like to hang it up out of the way so I have lots of room to work with and clean the area afterwards. But there's our new water pump in, all the guides back on. Obviously verify timing multiple times. Don't just do it once, do it a bunch. Make sure that timing's on point. Make sure all your bolts holding your guides and everything else are in place. Put your tensioner back in. Pull the pin on your tensioner and you're good to go. Then it's just a matter of RTV in the cover and we're done.